What's up, everyone? Thank you for checking out this episode of Raised A Geek. This week, we dive into Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and finally talk a little Ant-Man 3. So let's get into it. I'm Chris, and as always, I'm here with my buddy Don. How we doing, man?
Chris, what is up today, my friend? We are all right, doing okay on this June. No, it's not June, it's May. I'm fast forwarding
We're fast
time
forwarding a little bit. I know it's
a little
pushing through
bit.
May, but we're not quite there yet.
It feels like summer. It feels like June. But I'm good, man. Yeah. Ready to talk some Guardians, a little Ant-Man, a little capping off of these trilogies, these long-running trilogies. Um, but yeah, man, I'm okay. How are you
It's good.
doing?
I'm finally getting settled back into a normal routine. Like I said, over the course of the last 2 weeks, I think I've had 5 flights back and forth to Chicago. Just been all running around. I had a conference all this last week, so we've been falling behind. Haven't really been able to sit down and do some of this stuff. So it's just kind of feels good to get back into a groove. And with this, as well as just normal day to day, there was a lot of traveling and to the same place over and over again, coincidentally. So
Well, you know what? You got to do grown-up things sometimes, and
sometimes,
that takes you away from these grown-up kid things we like to do.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
But
there's always time to catch up. I know there's a lot of stuff we've kind of been like talking about here and there, like all these new shows, and we're both watching stuff and playing new video games, like sitting playing the Street Fighter 6 demo yesterday that we both got obsessed with. And
till like 3 in the morning, yeah.
I know I looked down at my clock and it was 2:30 and I wasn't tired yet and I still felt like I wanted to play. What's
Yeah.
happening? We're
It
Street
wasn't until
Fighter guys.
yeah, till it wasn't until I got in that one match with like a stranger in the online battle hub where like
Mhm.
I was so delayed in trying to do anything and I just got my ass whooped and I was like, yeah, no, I'm done for the night.
Yeah,
My reflexes weren't there.
right.
You know,
When the re
it's a lot of moving.
when the reaction time is gone, you know it's
It's
time to
over.
go to bed.
It's
Yeah,
over.
you don't stand a chance. But yeah, man, I'm happy to be catching up on some stuff now.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that came out this week, I was curious your thought in. You heard about Disney Plus pulling a bunch of their content?
I did read something about that, like the one that kept using the picture was like Willow
Yeah, Willow is getting pulled next week from Disney Plus. That
after
show is less than
yeah,
6 months. That show has already been canceled, and now you can't even watch it.
it's like wiped from existence.
Yeah. How? I mean, sure, it'll pop up on like Tubi or something that Disney will sell the rights to something, someplace with ads. But I mean, like, how messed up is that? Like, did nobody watch that show?
I don't know. I feel like someone out there has had to have, but
I've heard mixed things. Like, I've
yeah,
read comments and seen articles. So, I mean, like, I'm aware it's a thing. I didn't watch it. But of
no.
course, now it's leaving. So I'm like, huh, should I watch it real quick?
Should I watch it? But there'll never be a season two, you already know, and so like it's just there. Like
What's the point?
honestly, what is the point? Yeah, but it's a little surprising. They haven't been doing that. I know Netflix does stuff like that all the time. It's a cost cutting kind of a thing, I guess. It'll cost more money to keep it there with the projected viewership moving in the future than just to get rid of it. So it's like whatever. But yeah, it's a little weird, especially Willow. It's like a known property, man. It's like an iconic 80s, say what you will about it, cheesy 90s, whatever, fantasy movie that still, the name is still, it's Willow. It's a name people know. So it's kind of weird that they're just like wiping it from existence. Like I said, like it's almost going to be like it didn't ever exist. Uh,
Right.
it's crazy. It's a little crazy.
So how do you feel about like media preservation? Like this is a show that came out on streaming, never got released on any form of like physical media, and now it's gone.
Yeah. It's
And it's
strange.
just realistically, it's just like gone. So I mean, it could theoretically just never be seen again. Now, of course, there's probably people who have copies of it and it's been bootlegged and there are probably pirated sites that you could probably get it at, but that's not for the mainstream. Like I don't know how to download shit and pirate it.
Hmm.
So how do you feel about that? And that comes with games. Like we were sitting there talking last night, like I'm gonna buy Street Fighter 6 when it comes out in 2 weeks. Do I buy the
Hmm.
physical or do I buy the digital?
Right.
I want to
'Cause
buy the physical, but then at the same time, like, do I need a case and do I need the physical? But at what point will the game just stop working in digital, But then will I care? Like, do I care about the digital games that are sitting in my PS3 ether? That
Right.
real money I spent on these games, and I can go play them, but do I? No.
That's always been the fear of this digital renaissance, you
Right?
know, like stuff being able to do this. And now this is an example of that actually happening. Like I think about that the most with the Marvel shows on Disney Plus
Yeah.
because they are part of this grander huge story. So like someone who's a completionist, if they want to have all this stuff to have from, Iron Man 1 all the way up to where we are now currently, you have to include the Disney Plus shows in that.
Yeah.
That's part of the chronological story. And those only exist on Disney Plus
Yep.
as something to stream. They didn't make, Blu-rays of those. They didn't make anything you could buy and have at home just to like, like I said, somebody out there probably has everything
A lot of
uh
people probably
you know,
do. I have
just to
everything
like
up to a point, but
right. So it's like what happens to that stuff someday when they decide it's no longer profitable? What happens to, shows that didn't necessarily go over so well, like Moon Knight or maybe even Miss Marvel, like that didn't get as huge of a thing where people are just we're gonna take it away. Now that there's a gap in the
yeah.
story that you could never look at or view anymore. So it is weird. I don't know. When you start thinking about it, it'll start giving you a headache when you think about the ramifications of it, really. Uh, but I don't know, man. Sorry, Willow.
Sorry, it's so Street Fighter 6 digital?
Ugh. I don't know. It's gonna be
Or
a.
Rue, I want that sweet Best Buy steelbook.
You might be the only person I know who still goes to Best Buy. Every time I go in there, there's nobody in there, and I know
Yeah.
why you do it because you have like Best Buy points. But like some at some point, that place is gonna go the way of Circuit City, right? It's just gonna be gone.
You would imagine. I mean, they've changed a lot of things and kind of
Mhm.
adapted to kind of fit in with what people want, but yeah, it's still
It's still
an
a
age.
building you have to go walk into to look at TVs where people
Well,
are like,
and it's almost impossible to actually find anything in Best Buy. So
yeah.
like the only thing I always have to buy it online and do in-store pickup.
Hmm.
So it's just a way for me to get stuff today instead of waiting a couple days for Amazon to get it to me. So that's like the perk for it, but I can't go in like if I want a video game, I can never find it.
Hmm.
Any video game, brand new. If I went in there
Right.
right now, I bet you I couldn't even find Zelda Tears of the Kingdom
Probably not.
because they have it either behind the shelf somewhere or in the back somewhere just for online orders. And like, don't they just don't have anything? Rarely do they,
Yeah.
and
Because
that's crazy to me.
when you walk in there, there's like, 6 employees and 3 customers. I mean, it's gonna go bye-bye one of these days.
At some
Yeah.
point, but yeah, I still do some little Best Buy shopping and pre-ordering of games if I'll go through that because like I said I can get a bunch of points and I just always end up with coupons for Best Buy, so I got $5 off right now burning a hole in my pocket.
There you go.
So there's $5 off Street Fighter. There's the tax.
It's the Generation X in you, man.
Yeah.
Coupons.
Coupons, points, credits. Yeah, love it. That's how I got a Switch OLED for $50.
Boom.
Boom, right there. So we were talking about MCU. We're talking about Guardians Volume 3. Well, there was another number three, third film in a trilogy that the MCU put out this year that I didn't watch until last night. And as we said, we
True.
were catching up on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
Yep. Yep. I did see it in theaters. And I don't even remember when that was, honestly. I couldn't tell you when that movie
I think
came
it
out. Was it
was February. I
February or March? Okay.
think it was
Yeah.
February
So yeah, it's been a little while for me, but yeah, I did see it. But it did come out on Disney Plus the other day, so
this
you
week. Yeah.
did have a chance to watch it from home, right?
Yep.
Uh-huh. What'd you
Yep.
think? Quantumania. It was a huge build up to it, man. Kang and the quantum realm and uh Ant-Man's, I guess he's deserving of his trilogy, so he gets his trilogy, and it's whatever. What'd you think?
I did not like it.
Ah.
If it wasn't the MCU, I don't know if I would have made it through it.
Mm.
Like I know Kang's a big deal. I know they want to do a bunch with Kang. Obviously with having like Kang Dynasty being one of the Avengers films in this upcoming phase. Um, so I mean I'm watching it for that to try to see, but just so much CGI and it kind of fell along the lines of like Thor 4 again, where it's like any of the humor just didn't hit. Modoc was weird as fuck. Like I thought I was hearing everybody like, I love Modoc, he stole the show. And I'm watching this going, really? That was the
Mm,
best thing for most people was Modoc.
mm.
Like Corey Stahl looked all stretched out and weird.
Yeah, Modoc was rough, and I don't care what there's people who are like Modoc defenders, but let's be real, guys. Be real.
That
I know there's
wasn't
people I know there's people who like, and I've fallen into this before. I can't deny it. Just like being a shield for Marvel when you feel like people are attacking it. But sometimes, man, especially in a post Endgame world, you just have to admit when some of these things aren't great. And oh man, it wasn't great. Modoc's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. But
right.
it was, I agree with you. The jokes didn't really land. I didn't really like the script. I think like leaving out Michael Pena and Ti and that what's his name, Daniel Dashmalshin,
They
who
did leave them out. I
they were
mean,
like they were like a huge part of the first two, and like a lot of the comic relief and like a lot of that comedy came from that group,
yeah,
and they're just like not in this and not talked about, and the whole thing's like not taking place on Earth. It's all in this, like you said, quantum realm. I get it, but it just looks so like disorienting, and I get it. CGI is synonymous with the MCU, but just it was they hit you over the head with it pretty hard, um, in not a great way. So,
no, I mean
uh,
some of it looked better, I think, on my TV than it probably did in theaters, but
Mhm.
a lot of it was just jarring and just like you said, I just can't I struggled to get into it. Like it's very easy when CGI starts taking over to that level that these
Mhm.
people aren't there, you know, and it's just like everything looks fake and everything just it's really hard to get invested in the story. What little story they had, you know, and once again it came back to like Cassie, his daughter, man. If I was playing a drinking game where every time Paul Rudd said Cassie, I would be
you'd
dead
be,
right now.
you'd be hammered.
No, I'd be dead.
Yeah.
He said it was his only line the whole movie. Cassie,
He loves his
Cassie, where's
daughter.
Cassie? Is it weird that man, I felt like he loved his daughter too much. Like it was almost
That-
annoying where he's just like, I understand. I don't have kids, so maybe I don't understand. But like I understand there's like levels in which you love your kids, but then like he seems obsessive.
yeah.
Like I need to know. It's just like that was the script that they wrote for him where it was almost comical that was his sole like focus. He didn't think or do anything else this entire movie. Like he just was like obsessed with his daughter. And I
Yeah.
mean, I get it, but it just the way it played out, I was like, I don't give a shit about this girl.
Yeah. Or
Like
the
you
story or the
or the
script.
story or like all of this like her rebellion and being an activist and I was like I don't care about any of this. Like
Yeah.
this isn't a character I'm here to watch. This isn't what I've enjoyed. I didn't enjoy the other Ant-Man movies because of the little girl.
No. No. And this
So
is
it
like
just
they're on their like third actress for her too.
yeah.
Which is like, who am I looking at? Or is there gonna be a different one next time? Uh yeah, I
You better
totally
not.
agree with that. Mike to me, I don't know about you. Michael Douglas was rough, man. Like
Yeah.
every line he just it seemed like he was being held hostage and he didn't want to be there. He like didn't he just kind of phoned it in, dialed it in. Like his lines weren't delivered with any kind of passion or like acting. It just seemed like he was like, all right, how much you pay me to do this? All right, I'll stand in front of this green screen and just say these things. Um, and I kind of felt like that with everyone. Just like Paul Rudd's a funny dude, man. It wasn't funny. Like that sucks. And I'll give it the one bright spot to me was Kang. I did like Kang. I liked Kang's scenes, but now that's so muddled up and stuff we haven't even talked about with the future of that character and the actor. So it's like looking back, how much of that can you even enjoy? And the post-credit scenes are both about him. Spoilers if you haven't seen Ant-Man. But yeah, man. So kind of a mess.
Yeah.
Um,
I liked Michelle Pfeiffer. I thought she did good
sure.
and she's always fun to watch.
Hmm.
And so I mean I thought she did fine with what she had, but yeah, overall you could tell the movie was about her and I liked her kind of understanding this world that they were in. Even Bill Murray was kind of there and didn't really do anything
He was on
for
screen for
me.
about ten minutes and just delivered a couple weird lines, and that was it. Like that's your Bill Murray.
Yeah, out of anything that you
entrance
could have
into the
done,
MCU.
like
Right.
what is
Right.
happening in this movie? There was just so much, like I said, I just didn't. By the
Yeah.
whole second half, I was like barely paying attention. I was just
Yeah.
like, I can't. I just, it was rough, and it just kind of continued this trend that the MCU has kind of almost had since Endgame. I know we talked about the Eternals that we both said we enjoyed, but I haven't watched it again. Shang-Chi, I went and saw that twice in theaters, and I really did enjoy that movie. And I feel like that's almost one of the best. I know we were ranking that when we did Phase 4. When we were ranking them, and I can't remember where we were, but I'm pretty sure my Shang-Chi was probably like number one.
Mm-hmm.
It was no one or two for me, if I remember correctly. And I still stand by that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that assessment a little bit too. I thought about it a little more because me and you talked about it privately. I feel like they're kind of batting 500 right now, post Endgame.
Hmm.
Nothing though has really like blown me away until maybe now, but until maybe this latest one, we'll see when we talk about it. But like you said, Shang-Chi, Eternal, Spider-Man, Wakanda Forever to a lesser extent, those have all been pretty good. But then you've just had some bad movies like Black Widow and Thor and now this and to
Doctor
us Doctor
Strange.
Strange. So it's like the scale's almost balanced in
Yeah,
good and
you're right.
bad. And it used to be like banger after banger to me. And
Yeah,
we just haven't had that same way anymore, which is fine. I mean, it levels out. I mean, maybe the MCU isn't the juggernaut that it once was, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be, but just kind of the reality of the situation. And this Ant-Man 3 was one of those that didn't really move the needle for me that much.
no,
So sorry.
I I will not watch it again. I don't see
Yeah.
myself watching it again. Like I said, post-credit scenes with a bunch of Kang running around doing stuff that was interesting, but still don't really know. Kind of a tease for Loki season 2, which was kind of cool. Um,
Yeah.
which apparently they're doing reshoots on now, so God only knows what that show is going to look like now, or what they're reshooting. So
Good luck, Jonathan Majors, with your career.
yeah, we're gonna leave it at that because I don't want to talk about it.
Nah, I don't want to either.
I don't want to. So let's talk about something we do want to talk about, which is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Full spoilers
Hmm.
for this movie. It's been out a couple weeks, made a shit ton of money. It does still show that when you make a decent MCU film, people still show up and they'll pay a lot of money. I think in 2 weeks, they said Guardians of the Galaxy already made more money than Ant-Man 3 in its full
Hmm.
theatrical run. So something, it's a good sign for this film. But man, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Did I say spoilers? Spoilers.
Spoilers, everybody.
Spoiled the hell out of this movie. But Don,
Yeah.
I had a really good time with this movie.
Hmm.
This was I know we've been trying to figure it out. Like, what is this the best, like, MCU film since? Because, like you
And
said, I mean, I've enjoyed some. Maybe Spider-Man. I had a lot of fun watching Spider-Man.
hmm
And I don't know if I've had this much fun watching anything since Spider-Man No Way Home.
yeah. Yeah. Uh, on this, we are going to, as we just agreed on Ant-Man 3, we're going to agree on this also. I had a lot of fun with Guardians Volume 3, as I hoped I would, and that, came to be. And I guess we're kind of judging these movies in a post-Endgame world because that's, you're not going to top that anytime soon, I don't think. But yeah, probably the best thing since that. That and Spider-Man are like neck and neck. And we've talked about before Spider-Man, a lot of that joy comes from the nostalgia of it. Like the joy of seeing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield again. So that was like already built in. There was no way that was going to fail to entertain me. This being like an original part 3 of a trilogy, which you never know how those are going to go. Can it stand up to its,
Yep.
previous entries? Like, did it surpass them? I don't know. We can talk about that, but I had a lot of fun with this movie. I think it was really good. It was funny, had some great action scenes. Love the characters, love that team, love the way they interact with each other. And like, we'll get into it. It got super dark and serious and just uh pretty fun from beginning to end.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Hmm.
I mean, the music in these films always kind of kick it up and kind of almost get you in a move. I was very similar. I was watching what did I watch? Oh, the other night, Friday night, I think it was, I watched Air with Ben
Okay.
Affleck and Matt Damon because it's on Amazon now. We watched that
Mhm.
Friday night, and that movie is like filled with 80s music because it takes place in like 1984. So basically, it's like nostalgia everywhere in that movie. They're all just constantly flashing to like Ghostbusters logos or just like random like 80s nostalgia and music. And I was realizing like I'm having a lot of fun watching this. And I probably think it's just because I was tricked because of the music. And I think Guardians does a great job at that as well.
It's kind of been James Gunn's signature, hasn't
Yeah.
it? In all
Oh,
his
it
movies.
all of his movies are music heavy. Even Peacemaker was music heavy,
Hmm.
in its own way for the style that it was going for. Um,
Even when he went to DC and made Suicide Squad, like that had a bunch of cool music in it. And
yep.
Guardians has always been this way. Now I know Guardians 1 was like more of a throwback, like a mixtape, older songs, but in this movie he kind of mixed in some newer stuff. You start off the movie with Radiohead Creep, which I thought was a great way to start off, like on Rocket's headphones walking. I just love that. And like
Yeah.
the Space Hog song made it into the movie. And then even some more modern stuff that I recognize, but I don't know because I'm old. Um, but just like, yeah, always been really good. Oh, and give me a break with the fucking Beastie Boys song during that hallway fight, which is probably one of the best action sequences the MCU has ever had. Um, yeah, dude, music's awesome. James Gunn knows how to do that, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was it's like I said, this was a great time. It's the most
Mhm.
fun I've had with an MCU film and question mark, like and then like you said, Spider-Man, if you don't count Spider-Man, I don't know, maybe Endgame, like it might even be before Endgame of just like Endgame was its own thing,
Mhm.
but coming around it, you're just like, oh, what, does it really count?
Mhm.
Like Endgame was Endgame. But anyway, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So we were wrapping up. We're picking up after Endgame as we're talking about a whole bunch of things. And one of the things coming out of that was Gamora was killed in Infinity War and
Correct.
then brought back in Endgame, but a past version of her. And then she disappeared and the Guardians went to go look for her. And that was kind of how they ended Endgame with what the Guardians were going to do coming up next. Now we saw the Guardians in a Christmas special, which I don't think they talked about Gamora.
No, I mean, well, they didn't talk about her, but you could tell that's Chris Pratt Star Lord was actively like depressed and missing her.
Yeah, yeah,
That-
and that
Like
was
he,
why they were doing the Christmas. They wanted
right,
to get him Kevin Bacon,
right,
and
exactly. Go watch it if you haven't watched
yeah,
it. You should have by now,
and
but go watch
and then they were in Thor 4, but not really. They were really just there to drop off Thor
it.
because
Pretty
he
much.
left with them. So we
Mhm.
didn't get kind of what we thought we were going to get out of Guardians and Thor mixing together, but
Right.
it was what it was. So now we're kind of picking up with Gamora's gone, and we kind
Hmm.
of always knew that that was where we were going. So the movie, brief synopsis, was still reeling from the loss of Gamora. Peter Quill rallies his team to defend the universe and one of their own, a mission that could mean the end of the Guardians if not successful. So this movie, like, if the first Guardians was Guardians of the Galaxy and how they met and where they were and kind of an introduction to the characters. And the second volume 2 was really all about Peter and his lineage and his father and where he comes from. And then Guardians 3 was all about Rocket. This was Rocket's movie.
As it should have been. I don't
Yeah.
think you could have. I don't think you could have finished this trilogy or this story without getting into Rocket's origin,
Yeah.
because it kind of always has been talked about and hinted at in previous movies.
Yeah.
Before we've seen him, he always gets mad when someone calls him a raccoon or calls him out of his name, and shots of him with his shirt off, and he's got the little mechanical stuff on his back, and Peter doesn't know what he's looking at. Excuse me, and Rocket gets very offended by it. So I think I would have been dissatisfied if we finished this trilogy, James Gunn's trilogy, without kind of getting into Rocket. So I'm glad they went this route with him. Gave us a fantastic villain, gave us a great story. Even present day, jumping back to Rocket's origin, the back and forth wasn't disorienting to me. Um, yeah, dude, and really hit some serious dark tones that haven't aren't really seen in superhero movies. Like, this movie's rated PG-13, but careful taking your kids to this without kind of maybe warning them first about some of the things they see, because they're not it's not like a rated R movie or anything, but there's like disturbing imagery for even, adults. So
And
I know kids think that Rocket Raccoon is like a cuddly character, but he goes places in this and gets put through a bunch of stuff like that is
that's
a
heavy.
little a little stomach turning, a little, it's gonna pull at you. So, um, but I'm glad they went there with it, that kind of tone. But yeah, just be warned, I guess,
Well,
if you
and this movie has the MCU's first F bomb.
it does. It does. And I wrote a story that was funny, like somewhere they were talking about a conversation between James Gunn and Kevin Feige, and I guess James told him he was gonna put the word fuck in this movie. And Kevin was like, I don't know, James, do you kind of want to be the first director known to like use an F word in the MCU? He's like, fuck yeah, I do. And so he like just kind of did it, and it was perfect.
It was so
Uh,
funny.
it was
Yeah, they
it
were
was
trying to
hilarious.
Nebula just did not know how a car door worked.
Yeah.
Now what do I do? Open the fucking door. He didn't yell it at her. He just said it like, come on, just open the fucking door.
Yeah, dude, that was
It was
super
great. I
funny.
was dying. I was dying. Now, unlike Ant-Man, all of the comedy in this hit,
Hmm.
just like in the previous Guardians movies. Once again, Dave Bautista just showed that he's the man. Um,
Yeah,
he's still, every time I watch him act, I'm always like, man, he is like the best former wrestler turned actor.
he is.
He just
He is.
is. Yeah, he just the performances, the groups that he's gotten himself in with to be in these movies, and like his circles that he hangs out with, man, he's just doing it right.
Yeah, because he started in Guardians 1, but he's been in a few things now. He's got an M. Night Shyamalan movie under his belt. He's in Dune. He made a zombie movie with Zack Snyder. He was in Knives Out. Like the dude kind of he's the one taking, I think, Hollywood acting the most serious.
Yeah,
You may never see that man in a wrestling ring again. John Cena pops back in whenever he wants, and
yeah,
and The Rock's gonna come back when his empire finally crumbles around him. But Dave Batista just like, no, I'm good. I'm good
yep,
out here in Hollywood. So yeah, I can agree with that.
yeah.
We'll have to wait until we see Seth Rollins in Captain America, uh, the New World Order that he's filming.
He's in that.
Yeah, he's in that. That's why he's not on TV much right now, because he's filming Captain America.
Interesting.
He's the next one.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, right.
I never realized, and now I've rewatched Volume 1 and 2 since I saw 3, and it's 100% accurate. But it was so funny that Nebula, she just yells. She yells all of her lines, and she just yells at people.
In like her deep voice like
Her
this.
deep voice, and she's just yelling, and it's funny. But it just was something that I kept noticing. I was like, man, they yell a lot.
Yeah,
They're
she's
just,
a yeller. She's
yeah,
definitely a
it's
yeller.
just funny. But
One of
yeah,
the
I loved
funny.
seeing all these characters again. I loved
Oh yeah.
the story that they were coming in. We're picking up after the second one where we had and I'm blanking on their names, the gold race of people who were the bad guys for the second one.
Oh, like the Warlocks, or is that what their race is called, or is that
I
just
don't.
him,
That's
Adam
just
Warlock?
him. He's Adam Warlock.
Right.
And in the post credit scene, they were thawing him out to go get the Guardians. So they were kind of
Was that
picking
in
up.
that was in the post credit scene of Volume 2, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, kind
Right.
of setting up for him to be the villain for Volume 3,
Hmm.
which we kind of got, but not really.
Yeah, well, I don't know. What'd you think about his performance in this, his addition? I know Adam Warlock is more of he's not like a A-lister, but I mean he's around, he does stuff. He's a really, highly powerful guy, kind of like Superman style
Yeah.
set of skills. And then we got Will Poulter all buffed up for this movie to play the role. Now he wasn't in it a ton. I know some people didn't love that. They thought maybe he could be in. I thought with what they were working with and how much other stuff they had going on, that he had a nice role, as just like kind of a strong adversary who kind of becomes, an ally towards the end. But I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah,
Was
he was fine. Like I said, sometimes when they just have the undefined invincibility power, where it's just like I
Mhm,
can do anything, it gets a little just like another person like this that just kind of
mhm.
just can't stop, and you just beat up, and you're just like endless. There's like no stakes in fighting them.
Mm.
Even getting stabbed, I was like, oh shit, they killed him right in the beginning when he attacked um nowhere.
Yeah, and like didn't Nebula stab him through the chest or
Yeah.
something?
And
Yeah.
he was like, ow. And then he kind of, I thought he died. And I was like, oh shit. Okay. Maybe he wasn't
Ow.
invincible. And then he
Yeah.
was just there holding his stomach. And the next one, that hurt. I was like, oh, okay. He's an idiot. Okay.
You can't kill him, and he's a child.
I liked that they made him an idiot. I thought it was
Yeah.
funny that he was kind of
Well,
almost like a child.
well, because it's like they said they took him out of his cocoon too early, so that was the whole point. It's like
Yeah.
he wouldn't have been like this, but we took him out early, so he's kind of a dummy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I like that. I didn't mind him. I have no ties to the character to care outside of just knowing his name. So I'm
yeah.
not I wasn't hurt one way or the other with how he was used. I could see if you're really a big fan of the character why you might want more, but I thought he was handled well. He was a good, like you said, adversary to be in the trenches with them and
Hmm.
kind of be a threat that they were there. And you needed somebody like the whole thing of this movie was Rocket Raccoon, and he was the one who got hit and was almost pretty much killed in the
Right.
opening of this movie. So, and it led to everything else that happened in the movie. So I thought it worked out well to
Yeah.
kind of keep him as an adversary, good and
Yeah,
bad, and an ally. So I thought he worked out well, and they set him up for if they want to do more, he's in position to.
for sure. I don't know. Before we're done talking about characters, I know we had Star Lord and Drax is funny, and Star Lord kind of always does his thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Just for me, I don't know if this is a widespread thought or if it's just me or if you share a similar thought. Ever since the Christmas special, and then even with this, like Mantis is hilarious and like one of the best members of this team.
Hmm.
Like she might be my favorite person on this team. She's
Yeah.
funny. She has an awesome power set, like just jumping around from people and whispering something in their ear, and all of a sudden they're just doing it.
Yeah.
Like her and Drax are comedy gold. The
Yeah.
actress, like Palm, I can't think of her last name, like
Clementine.
Clementine.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just delivers the lines great in that little Mantis voice she does. Um, dude, love Mantis.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what they do with that character moving forward because I think she's awesome.
Yeah. She absolutely was. And yeah, I can definitely see why they wanted to do like a spin off with her and Drax. And I
Hmm.
know that didn't come to fruition. I think they were talking about like a Disney Plus show for it or something, and I could see where like that appeal came from, and it would be interesting. But
Well,
it's kind of a
that's
shame.
what the Christmas special kind of became. It was like
It
her
kind
and
of, yeah,
Drax's story, you know.
kind of, yeah, it kind of did. And yeah, like I said, I enjoyed all of it. They're a great duo, and like I said, when she showed up in Volume 2, just rewatching it, I'm like, she was always great. They were
Yeah.
always great together. Like I said, everybody just knocked it out of the park in this movie.
Hmm. One thing I do wish they would have maybe explored a little more though in this was like her revelation in during the Christmas special that her and Peter were brother and sister,
Yeah,
and they kind of didn't do much with that. I get it; it's a very bloated movie, not bloated in a bad way, but there's a lot going on, and you kind of had to keep the focus on Rocket for the most part.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah,
yeah, maybe I would have liked to see a little more. You know, at the end of this, Peter's like, I have to go out and find my own way and find my family. I'm like, Mantis, she's right there. She's your
yeah,
sister. You just found out
yeah.
about. Like, that's not family. And she's going to do her own thing too. It's like, I kind of wish maybe they'll do something more with them moving forward, but could have used a little more of that for me.
Yeah, I can understand. Yeah, they kind of had their two big stories that they needed to kind of push through, which was Rocket and his origin and where he was and his importance within this group and within this universe and with the Guardians of the Galaxy. And then you had Peter and his just loss of Gamora and how that was affecting him. I mean, it was apparent from the first scene when he was trashed and fighting with Rocket and just like that he was heartbroken and they, like as you said we talked about that with the Christmas special that he was missing her and he was sad. So just kind of knowing going in that we're not knowing what we were going to get, like what kind of story are we going to get with Gamora? Is it just going to be them re-falling in love and her
Mhm.
becoming his Gamora, or are they going to do something different? And I was so glad they did something different.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about is um they didn't kind of go back and change things and fix it and make them fall in love again, and it's kind of exactly where it left off, and Peter didn't get his happy ending. So is that a good thing? I mean,
I think it is because he didn't. It's yeah, he didn't get the girl,
Hmm.
But I feel like by the end he got closure. Like he kind of accepted it that this isn't the same person. This is a Gamora that was grabbed out of time before the Guardians and before she
Hmm.
found the need to want to help people.
Yeah.
She got this is like full on Thanos brainwashed Gamora.
Right.
So like she's a different person and she never realized that Thanos was bad. So it's like she just kind of you could see sparks of her, and I like the fact that she had growth throughout this film as well. And by the end she could understand why she would have been involved with this group and why she would have been involved with Peter, but it's just not she's not that person. And so
Hmm.
she can't just do that. And I really liked that. I thought that was really well. She even said I can she was like, I bet we were a lot of fun. And he's like, yeah, we were. And
Hmm.
so it's like she knew it. And I even loved at the end when they were doing their big group hug, she stood off to the side, like,
But she's not
yeah,
one
she's
of
like,
them.
yeah,
She's not one of them.
like she was there, she understands. I think it shaped her, but she's not one of them. And I just loved the way that they did that. And then they even went and took it that step further and took her and showed her go back with the Ravengers, and she was home.
Hmm.
And seeing everybody happy that she's there and her happy that these are my people, like that's what this Gamora's life became. She's a Ravenger, and
Hmm.
these are her family. This is her home. This is the people that she loves, not the Guardians. And I
Yeah.
just love that they didn't feel that really like tempting storyline of just like, oh, let's just make them fall in love again and we can have the happy ending. And I
Yeah.
like that they didn't go that route. That's like, you know, it was just great.
Well, yeah, and it worked. The main reason for me in my mind that it works out is because let's say you did go down that road and just make them fall in love, and she'd be like, they're back to whatever being a couple, and it's basically just like she's never gone. That's exactly what it would have been. It would have been that like she's never gone. And then, you know what that does? That makes the ending of Infinity War and her death mean nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
would it kind of would just erase that and be like, well, she's gonna be back anyway. When you're rewatching Infinity War in 5 years, be like, that this don't matter. We get Gamora back in a couple movies.
Yeah.
Um, so I agree with that, and it kind of shows the brilliance of James Gunn too a little bit. Like, I think famously he did not want Gamora to die in the Avengers movies, but that was kind of a decision above his head. That's like
Yeah.
Feige and the Russos deciding we need this for our story to
Yeah.
kill one of these Guardians, and he was kind of pissed about it. But so he's like, all right, he brought her back, but he's like, I'm gonna bring her back in a way that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not just kind of erase what happened in Infinity War, even though I didn't want to do that. I
Yeah.
get it, but so it was a very smart way to bring her back and still have her be in the movie and part of the whole universe. But I agree with you. I'm kind of glad they kept them apart, and she's got her doing her own thing because, like you said, she's a Gamora out of time. She's a different person.
Yeah. So she made her own life and she made her new life, and
Yeah.
that was super cool. So like I said, I loved that they did that. It was emotional and heartfelt, but bittersweet,
Mm-hmm.
which is always, has a little bit more emotional weight to it
Sure.
than if you would have put them back together. Of course, it would have been fun, but it's just where's the growth? And like you said, where's her sacrifice?
Right.
Why take that away? So yeah, I absolutely agree. But I loved, like I said, the characters where we went. I also loved the uh, I can't even remember the space station made out of tissue.
Oh, yeah.
Like that
With
was so
Nathan
weird.
Fillion.
Yeah, with Nathan. Yeah, Nathan Fillion running around doing jokes,
Mm-hmm.
like all of those things. Oh, I got one of those too. As he's talking about the security guards being stupid. Um,
Hilarious.
that was just all
Just like looking
gold.
back at him, glaring back at him.
Yeah, looking over his shoulder, like what you do. Um, but yeah, I just as we talked about with Ant-Man, the CGI, like the CGI in this movie was done really well, and I don't know if they just had more practical effects and didn't rely. I mean, there was obviously a lot of CGI in this film, but it all looked great and didn't
Yeah.
ever none of it took me out of the movie. Like watching Quantumania, everything took me out of it. And this one, I
Yeah.
was like invested in this world and where they were and didn't even think about it.
You got to wonder, honestly. I mean, if not to go back to Quantumania too much, but like if the stuff done there was just kind of a rush job, like we've heard Marvel might do from time to time, they like poured a bunch of money for one of their projects they know is going to be fantastic, and then something that they just kind of got to put out there, like, just slap something together. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but to me, with the naked eye, kind of looks like what happened.
A little bit.
So the set design, yeah, on this movie was definitely a step up, and definitely in line with the other Guardians movies and more of the high level MCU movies you've seen. You know, being in space and having a bunch of weird stuff around doesn't mean it has to look jumbled and off putting and jarring. It
Yeah,
can look, just like cool and awesome and like a sci-fi
felt like
prestige film,
yeah, felt like Star Wars.
Exactly. And that's kind of what this franchise has always wanted to do, is be the MCU Star Wars. And yeah, I'm with you. The sets, that set, Nowhere, everything on Nowhere, everything they went, like space stations, like even the dark dungeons that rockets in, and the high evolutionaries spaceship, all that stuff all looked great. The
Yeah,
animals talking looked seamless. I mean, Rocket never looked better. Like the CGI on Rocket was great, dude. Like,
yeah.
we talk a lot of shit about some of the CGI when like we have monsters or whatever, like She-Hulk or whoever they want to make fun of or whatever, but the Rocket CGI was seamless. Looked like a little raccoon's talking to you the entire time.
Kind of. And even
Yeah,
the other animals, they looked
yeah.
great.
Well, how do
They
you feel
looked
about those? How do you feel about all those other animals? What do you think about the Rocket stuff? Is it how did it hit you? Did like we knew some bad stuff happened to them, but this was like the heaviest they've ever gone with loss and like torture and imprisonment, and it has a lot
yeah.
to say about animal cruelty. And James Gunn went there like wasn't afraid, and kind of brought us
No,
a very heavy story. What do you think about that?
no, I liked it. Like you said, I think them doing this trilogy and not addressing Rocket's
Mhm.
origin would have been a
Mhm.
shame. I loved the that they went there with, like you said, that they were able to show us his origin, and like you said, they teased it in one and two. Never knowing that something bad happened with him, so having the opportunity to go back and explain it and let us see it was great. And I like that the High Evolutionary was a character that kind of almost seemed like he was over like the second one as well, being tied in with the gold species that he created. And so many of these species and worlds within this universe was created by him trying to create the perfect life,
Mhm.
and the perfect civilization. So I really like it. Almost seemed like he was kind of like the biggest bad that they
Over
had
Guardians so far, yeah.
over the Guardians, and then to come back and then bring it like all the way back to being like, well, Rocket is his like best species, his best like creation. That's his like
Mhm.
that was his peak that he never really was able to top. And I just love all of the layers that has to dive into for that, and it just shows how important. And I know they said it at the end of this movie where they were like, "Rocket, you're the Guardians of the Galaxy, and you always were."
Mhm.
And just when you rewatch those movies, you kind of realize, yeah, he kind of always was, and
Yeah, he's the
they
heart. He's the heart. Yeah.
yeah, he's the heart of that group. And I love the fact that he was, after listening for three movies of him saying, "Don't call me a raccoon," and then, but he never knew what a raccoon was. And then when he saw all the raccoons at the end, he was like, "Oh
Right.
shit, I am a raccoon!" Like,
Right. These are my people.
these are my people. And just letting him find home, which was really awesome. So yeah, I think you needed to go the places that they went to show. I mean, he was a creature, he was an animal that got, was basically given sentience and like smarts, the intelligence to understand life and to understand technology. And you made it a person, for lack of a better word. So that's
Yeah.
heavy stuff, that's creation of life, that's god level stuff. So I think that
Yeah.
you have to kind of, that's a messy thing. So
Hmm.
you kind of get there, and when you're made in a lab, that's,
Yeah.
I like the unflinching look at that through that lens.
Yep.
So I thought it was great, and I thought it was just a great way for Rocket's story to come full circle.
Yeah, most definitely. Agreed. He's deserving of a main character origin like this. Like, you'd love to see, and you think your main Marvel heroes, Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Spider-Man, like I want to see everything about this character. Rocket's one of those. Like
Right.
he's just become one of those, and to get to see what how he became who he is has always been something we all wanted to see.
Right.
And I'm glad that they went there as far as they did with it. Like, man, he had a rough time. Like it wasn't ice cream and rainbows for Rocket coming to be what he is. He's like a freak. He's walking around singing creep at the beginning of this, like, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
And that's just how he's always kind of felt. And the stuff with Lila and Floor and Teef, his friends, like getting killed by the high evolutionary, that was like heavy stuff, dude. And then
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper belts out one of the best wails of agony that I've ever heard as like a CGI raccoon. Um,
And then the high
so
evolutionary walks in and just yells at him back, and I was just like, man.
yeah, this is crazy. Um, yeah, I loved it all. I think it was pushing boundaries, but I don't think James Gunn is afraid of doing that. And I think, I'll look back on this as like one of my favorite origin kind of things deals for one of these characters. I thought it was a great way to kind of tell us and how he overcame and what made him into the person he is now and how far he's come on his journey. So I really liked all that stuff too.
Yeah. And I guess we do got to, before we kind of move through the rest of this conversation, got to give it to the high evolutionary and Chuck Wooji of
Mm-hmm.
just knocking it out of the park. That dude was awesome on Peacemaker. Makes sense why he's in this movie. He's a James Gunn guy, but he was just menacing and threatening, and just like he was just great all around, and just being that kind of foil to go against Rocket and the
Mm-hmm.
Guardians, and just kind of being like we talked about a minute ago, just being kind of the big bad of this trilogy, if you really
Mm-hmm.
look at it. And it was kind of
Yeah.
cool. He did a great job, and I just want to give him a shout for that.
No, you have to. We talk about the villains in the MCU a lot. Sometimes I'm not hitting their mark. He definitely did.
Yeah.
Uh, not maybe not known to a lot of people as like an actor, but yeah, like you said, in Peacemaker, he was really good. In this movie, he really knocked it out of the park. Had some really menacing lines and scenes where he's like scary, and a lot of times in these movies, like um, even the real Mandalorian in Shang-Chi, we loved him, whatever, but he's a sympathetic character. Like you feel for him and you feel for her. They make you like some of these villains, they like you agree with what they did because this happened to them and you can kind of sympathize. Not with this dude. You hated this dude.
Right.
He was just evil for the sake of being evil, and that's you need that sometimes. Like a dude you just want to reach through the screen and punch yourself
Right.
because they're such a dick.
Right.
And like you don't always want to be like, I kind of root for the villain, not in this one. So yeah, he was really good. I thought he did a great job. It's good when these movies get the villain right because
Right.
it just makes the movie that much more enjoyable. So I'm glad with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He did a great job. So like obviously we like this movie.
Yes.
Was Guardians of the Galaxy, now looking back, and for all intents and purposes, this is it. James Gunn obviously is going on to other things, which we'll talk about here in just a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Was this one of the best or better MCU trilogies? We've had several trilogies. We had a Thor trilogy. Technically, that turned into four. We've now had an Ant-Man trilogy. We've had a Spider-Man trilogy, Iron Man
Captain
trilogy,
America.
Captain America. Like everybody's kind of got their trilogy there.
Mm-hmm.
Was this the best one?
Mm, yes, I think so. I think so. If I'm thinking about, yeah, I think so. Um, there's some Captain America movies I really like. One, the first one, just okay. Um, Spider-Man, loved Homecoming. The second one for me, just okay. Uh, Ant-Man, we already kind of talked about. Thor has the Dark World. The point is that they're all good and for whatever reason, but you can look at this trilogy and say one was great, two was great, three was great. So if that's the case, it's the best one.
Well,
Um,
and they told a great story, like
yes,
overarching story as well as just their own movie like story. And like I mentioned earlier, it was like each one had a theme that it was about. Each one of these movies has heart, it has emotion, it has character development, it has
yep,
characters. Like there's so many levels to all of these movies that a lot of MCU or just films in general don't have.
yeah,
So many movies I watched, I'm like, why do I care about this character? I watch TV
right.
shows all the time. I'm like, I don't care. I stopped watching Lord of the Rings of Power, because I didn't care about any of the characters. I
Hmm.
watched 4 episodes and I was like, I don't give a shit or know any of these people's names. Why should I care about this person doing this?
Yep.
And there's all kinds of stuff. I just said it with Quantumania. Why do I care about Cassie? I don't, because they never gave me a reason except for it was Ant-Man's daughter, but I don't
Right.
care about her. Um, this,
But you give a shit what happens to a CGI raccoon because they've made you care
yeah,
through 3 movies and whatever, you
yeah,
know. You feel scared when you think Drax is gonna die because you've gotten to know this character and he's endeared himself to you through this trilogy of movies and other things, you know. They give them like they gave them a family feel that they've just go back and forth, and you're like, these seem like real people, maybe that I kind of know. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
they have real personalities. They're not just superheroes. They're actual like they have some depth to to themselves,
yeah.
and that does not happen in superhero movies all the time.
Are you surprised that nobody died?
Yes, I am, and I'm okay with it, but also at the same time, I kind of feel like it might have been a little bit of a cop out because they it seemed like it was sold to us that way, that would happen, and I feel like maybe it would have helped with the ending a little bit. Like some of the endings seem kind of muddy. Like Drax is still alive. But he said he's never going to be in these movies again. So like, is just Drax never going to pop up again? We just have to think he's hanging out on nowhere for the rest of the eternity. Um, I am surprised. I thought somebody might. Um, Not saying like it ruined anything for me or made it like I was like, I just kind of thought somebody would. You?
Yeah, I was surprised.
Okay.
I
Okay.
honestly thought they were killing Rocket. They got me a couple times where I was like, and then it
Yeah.
was really weird because when like Star Lord got shot out into space and froze and his face bloated up at the end, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. They're
And
gonna
I thought
do
it
it.
was really weird because they like I was like, they're gonna kill him, but I was like, this feels weird because I feel nothing right now. Like I just didn't like care. I don't think that's the right word for it, but it just the
It,
way it was done, it just wasn't. I was watching it and I was like, are they really gonna kill him this way? Like, is this
mhm.
it? I'm like, okay, do I feel for this? Do I feel for this moment? And I really didn't, so I thought that was weird. But
Like
um
you would have felt more for Rocket.
oh yeah, when I thought Rocket died before Pete did the old Charlie on Lost fake out,
Oh, right, right,
um which has been done a bunch of times and still Lost did it best. But
for sure.
it's the only time that commercials made something better on
Mhm.
TV. But that's not what we're here to talk about. So
If you know, you know.
if you know, you know. Exactly. But I really thought they did it, and that emotion and the stuff that was sold to us in the trailers, and I really that was the one I bought in on. But I did not mind that everybody lived, and because everybody got closure.
Yeah,
It was like every character kind of said, "This is what I'm going out to do now," and whether or not we see him again or not, and realistically, we know James Gunn is most likely done. This was his movie,
hmm,
but those characters, like as you said, still exist in the MCU. At the post-credits finale, it says Star Lord will return. We don't know in
the
what capacity.
legendary Star
The
Lord. Yeah,
legendary Star Lord will return. So it's like these characters could all, and I know Bautista said he wouldn't come back. That doesn't mean he won't.
that's true.
So like, or unless they decide to recast, I mean, these characters still exist for them. So I don't know if it's necessarily fair for
Right.
James Gunn to just kill a bunch of them on his way out the door.
Well, yeah, and now that you're kind of saying it, I mean, this is his baby. Maybe he didn't want to.
Yeah,
Maybe he just did not want to in his final act as doing a Guardians project. Just like I don't want to kill any of them anymore. Like
yeah.
you know, uh So I can respect that. And like you said, yeah, they did all kind of get their own form of closure in a way. So if we never see Gamora again, you know what? She's somewhere happy with the Ravagers. Like, do we need to see
Every
Gamora again?
every single character, never see him again. You can imagine what they're going to do. You
Right.
know where Drax went. Granted, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I know when I left the film theater, I knew he was going.
Him and Nebula are still on nowhere, like running nowhere.
Gotcha.
Right.
Mantis was going out on her own.
Hmm.
Star Lord went home.
And Rocket and Groot are formed the new
Yeah.
lineup of the Guardians. Yeah.
Yeah. And Gamora's a Ravager and she's with her
Right.
people. So it's like everybody's kind of doing their thing and you can see where they're going, but they all had growth, like to get to that level in which they were. So I just thought it
Yeah.
was great and it left it on a happy note, even when it wasn't the happiest.
Yeah. So yeah, basically answer your question. I am surprised no one did, but I'm not upset about it in any way.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, agree
yeah.
100%. Now we've said it a few times now. James Gunn's future, we know where he's headed. He's headed to DC Films. He's now basically the Kevin Feige of DC. His next film will be Superman Legacy, which he's written or about to or almost done writing. Any day now we'll get casting news as to who's going to be the new Superman, and he's directing it. So we know where he's headed and what's on his plate. But do you think Marvel missed out on like letting James Gunn go? I know they fired him once before, and that opened the DC door to
Hmm.
grab him and started that whole thing.
Yep.
But like,
He would not be in DC if it was not for him getting fired from Marvel the first
yeah,
time. I don't think
I don't either.
so. He
They
got
snapped
his
him up quick.
Yeah, they got their taste of him with Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, and like, oh, he's the boss. He's running this shit. Yes. So I'm sorry to cut you off. Your question
No,
was,
just do you think Marvel should have tried harder to keep him? Do you think they
oh
did? Like,
yeah.
do you wish you could see more? Not necessarily Guardians, but just James Gunn's involvement with the MCU.
Listen, I'll tell you this much. I think Marvel's probably regretting it a little bit. I
Mm-hmm.
think they are probably, and I know that was during kind of a time of like, he messed up on social media, put some things out there that weren't great, but I think maybe they now will look back at that and be like, maybe we were a little hasty. Maybe we could have like figured this out a little more. Because clearly we brought him back to make this Guardians 3, so it obviously wasn't something that was like, he's canceled forever. He's now the head of a major studio within Warner Brothers, so it wasn't anything that bad. Um, humans are humans, they're gonna make mistakes. But yeah, I think that they're probably regretting it. I mean, the reception of this movie is one of the best receptions they've had in quite a while.
Yep.
We have eyes from the eye test. We can see why. It's just he made a fantastic movie, and he's made a bunch of fantastic stuff for them. Like the two Guardians movies are two of their better movies, and the Christmas special, and yeah, so I think they're regretting it. They are going to have to sit now and watch him make a Superman movie with his talents. Their direct competition, that he's going to write and direct for, and now he's heading up their universe. So, yeah, I think they probably regret it.
Does this excite you for the next level of DC films? Now, like I know we've bashed DC films and the DC EU and Snyderverse and all of that stuff for just being such a mess. And we still have a
Mhm.
little bit more. We Shazam, I guess we can watch this week on HBO. Shazam 2. It comes out, I think, like the 23rd, and I still don't know if I will. But
Yeah, probably still won't.
like, does this seeing like what James Gunn can do again excite you for the DC films, Superman Legacy, just what he's creating over there at all?
A little bit more. It honestly does. Was not 100% when he first got announced, but now seeing this and kind of thinking back and seeing what he did with Peacemaker and seeing, say what you will about Suicide Squad, it was, good, pretty good, but it was good.
It was
It
better than the
wasn't
first Suicide Squad.
absolutely it was. And so like him being announced writing, directing Superman, I was kind of like, seeing this dude, I'm excited to see what he's honestly gonna do with Superman. He's earned my benefit of the doubt right now. to be like, I'm gonna let that dude cook. I'm gonna let I'm gonna
But
sit and
I agree with you. I agree with
okay.
you. I'm not going at it. I'm just trying to know I want to know
Hmm.
what you think. But how about his style for Superman? Like all of his movies have had the same tone. Obviously, Suicide Squad and Peacemaker were rated R, so they went further.
Hmm.
Guardians, has its style. His humor is his humor. How do you imagine a Superman? Like none of that screams Superman to me. So like is he going to change? Like is this going to feel like a James Gunn movie or is it going to be his Superman or is he going to do Superman?
I mean, I guess we're gonna have to wait and
I
see.
mean, I know.
I think he can. I can tell he has the ability in him to dial it back. He went all out with Suicide Squad because
Yeah, he
he wanted
could.
to make a rated R movie, and they said, "Go for it. We're not going to stop you." But in this volume three, toned it down, but it still had some great action pieces, great character work, great dialogue, great comedy. So it's like I think he can do that with Superman, and it could be fun. We know this guy knows how to do action sequences. We know this guy knows how to do sets. We know he knows how to do dialogue. So like, why couldn't he just take that and put it with Superman and
Right?
Lex Luthor talking to each other and Superman in a relationship with him and Lois Lane? I think he can do it. I think it's gonna be
I have no
great.
reason to think that he can't.
Yeah.
It just comes down to that just his style and Superman in my head don't work.
It's he's not the first director who would came to your mind, but you know what?
Yeah.
If I was going through a list of directors right now and someone's like, let's let James Gunn do a Superman movie, I'd be like, okay. I can't think of a bunch of other directors who I'd be like, let them do it right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's kind of on top of the superhero game. So if he's doing a superhero Superman movie, great. Let's see it.
What what makes me feel better about James Gunn is he's someone who has completely and openly said that superhero fatigue is real
Hmm.
and he's not doesn't have his head in the sand hiding from it. And he said what you have to remember is you have to make a movie with heart and emotion and characters that people like and a story that matters. And Guardians 3 was all of those things.
Hmm.
And it is something that's been missing in these MCUs, as we just talked about with Quantumania, as we talked about in all of the previous since Phase 4, since Endgame ended. We've been podcasting about it pretty much since. So all of it's out there for anyone to go
Yeah.
back and listen to. So go make sure you go do that. But
Hmm.
most of it's come across as that way. The ones that stand out are the ones that have characters that we care about.
Yep.
And that's just what it is. So yeah, if he could do that with Superman, one of my favorite characters, and just if they can do that right,
Characters in general, not even just comics, just
just
characters.
characters in general, when Superman
Yeah.
is done right, it just feels good. And
Hmm.
I really want to see Superman done right again. It's been
Yep.
a while. I loved Henry Cavill as Superman, but he never got a proper like run as Superman.
So maybe
And
James Gunn will do that for someone else.
and it'll be someone I don't know.
And that's fine. I'm fine with that.
No, I'm
I'm
100%. I didn't know any of the last handfuls of
yeah.
Superman. I didn't know Brandon Ruth before he got casted.
All right.
I didn't know Henry Cavill before he got casted. So he can make someone's career. I'm 100% cool with that. So I just know I've looked at all the casting rumors and I'm like, I don't know who any of these dudes are.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you on all that. I'm excited for James Gunn to take a shot at it, you know. I just this is now just further moved it for me, saying, dude,
Let's do it.
give the guy a shot. Let's go for it. Make me a Superman movie.
I I like it. I like it,
Yeah.
man. Any last thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 or Ant-Man Quantumania if you want to.
Ant-Man, no, we're not talking about that anymore. No, Guardians 3, man, it was great. I'm happy I saw it. Um Kind of sad to see know that trilogy is over, but you know, it happens. All good things must come to an end. Like, dude, this is a bunch of characters that nobody knew coming into when volume 1 started. Nobody knew uh this team. Like, we had Iron Man and Hulk and Spider-Man and Wolverine, Guardians of the Galaxy. What is this? This is the biggest risk Marvel has ever taken, and it's turned out to be one of their most rewarding franchises they have.
You
So
know you know what's funny is that there was a story that Bautista told when Guardians of the Galaxy was originally made,
Mm-hmm.
and he went to WWE and he said, "Hey, you want to do some cross promotion?" He said, "I'm in this Marvel movie. You want to do some cross promotion with the Guardians of the Galaxy?" And Triple H was just like, "Nobody knows who they are. We're not interested in that. Good luck with your
Yeah.
Marvel movie." And then that just took off. And I know that I think he's even said like Triple H apologized to him and sent him something as like a joke and a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff like, "Whoops, we missed the mark on that one." And I
Missed the
think
boat.
they did some cross promotion when the second one came out. And I think they've done cross promotion on almost every Bautista movie that's come out since. It was like, we're not going to do that again. But it's just
Because he's a legit Hollywood actor
yeah.
now.
But I mean,
Yeah.
that's where the Guardians of the Galaxy started. They started as unknown. I wanted to see it because Chris Pratt was on fucking Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec.
And I was
Right.
like, dude, I love that dude. He's hilarious on Parks and Rec. The trailer looked hilarious. It did have Dave Bautista, and as a wrestling fan, I was like, I got to see what that looks like. I
Mhm.
remember walking out of the movie going, Bautista killed it. Like he was hilarious and just hilarious across the board. And the music is just something we'd never seen before, especially within the superhero realm of just what we were getting from MCU up to that
Yep.
point. And to see how far it came and to see where we went with it, it's like I said, one of the greatest trilogies just in general, not even superhero.
Right.
It's just a
Right.
great trilogy across the board of just space adventure with a bunch of
Yeah, and
hooligans.
a lot of this stuff isn't rewatchable. This
Yeah,
trilogy is rewatchable. Like I can see myself watching all three of these plus the Christmas special every year around the holidays for
you gotta
you
watch
know
the Christmas special.
right for
That made
years.
its
So
way into the rotation around Christmas time as the 40-minute Christmas special.
great.
So that's
So
awesome.
yeah, love it.
That is awesome. Well, as we said in the beginning, we took a couple weeks off. We are planning on coming back roaring at you all. So we're going to be coming back. Make sure you check out over on the YouTube channel. We just posted some shorts over there that are out there of our opinion. I think Don was talking about Miss Marvel and the comic books. So you want to go check
Mm-hmm.
that out. We're hoping to do more of that content coming forward. So make sure you check out the Raised a Geek over on YouTube. We got a lot of great stuff there, as well as all the podcast services and social media services. Raised a Geek across the board. You can find us. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow us where you can. We're always looking for reviews. So hit us up with 5 stars, 5 thumbs up, whatever metric
Five
they're
thumbs up.
using.
That's a lot
5
of
thumbs
fun.
up.
That's a lot of fun.
Whatever the metric is, we want it. So definitely hook us up with that. It helps out the show. And we appreciate each and every one of you for sticking around and helping us grow. But I think that's it for this week. So for Raised a Geek, I'm Chris.
And I'm Don.
And thanks for checking out the show.
Where geek is all we speak.